At this point, the music has been approved for airplay, the song's information has been noted, and now we're ready to create a schedule. This music log is a scheduled playlist of music to be aired consecutively for each hour. The music schedule is generated by computer software that is configured by the program director based on the format clock and scheduling criteria we'll cover next. The goal of the playlist is to produce a balanced mix of new and classic hit music. Each song in the library is assigned various codes that correspond to the following properties. It is best to have the same person code each song so that the station maintains a consistent sound. The first property is tempo. How fast is the beat? Every song is either fast, medium, or slow, or somewhere in between. Most scheduling software will code a tempo from 1 to 5, with 1 being slow and 5 being fast. If you want to get scientific, purchase a metronome, a device that produces regular metrical ticks or beats per minute. For radio, the best way to correspond music values to numbers is shown in the chart on this slide. You should try to avoid transitions between tempo extremes, like from a 1 to a 5 or a 5 to a 1. Abrupt changes in level, tempo, or texture can distinctly alter the perception of the desired sound of the station. Through the correct usage of tempo, the entire rhythm of the station can be altered from a slow paced, easy listening approach to a hot, contemporary delivery using the same library. We know how fast the beat is. Now, what style of beat is it? This is the song's texture. For example, in KANW's New Mexico Spanish music format, textures include traditional rancheras, cumbias, instrumental polkas, waltzes, and ballads. In country formats, there are waltzes, ballads, swings, and two-steps. In rhythmic and pop formats, there are hip hop, R&B, dance, and rock textures. Well-programmed playlists rarely play more than 2 or 3 of the same textures back to back. Varying the styles throughout the hour makes for a more diverse and appealing playlist. Each song also has its own emotional tone and general attitude or expression we call mood and energy. It is ideal to have a balanced mix of sad or low energy songs with happy or high energy songs while protecting against too many of one mood playing back to back or too close together. Program directors also protect against too many songs by the same artist playing too close together. Most music formats will allow a minimum of 1 hour between songs by the same performer. It is ideal to have a variety of songs performed by males, females, groups, and instrumentals spread through the playlist. Gender is also assigned to each song, and rules are created to ensure an assortment of genders play throughout each hour. Music logs also protect against the same song playing too close to others of the same title, even if they are performed by different artists. For instance, here at KANW, there are probably 10 versions of Las Mañanitas in our library, all by different artists, but we wouldn't play them or schedule them too close to each other. A sufficient separation, maybe 2 to 3 hours before another version is allowed to play. Radio stations divide the days into parts during which programming is adjusted based on peak listening times and listener behavior. These segments are called day parts. The 5 common day parts are morning drive, 6 to 10 a.m., middays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., afternoon drive, 3 to 7 p.m., nights, 7 p.m. to midnight, and overnights, midnight to 6 a.m. An example of adjusting programming within day parts is when a longer album version or remix of a song may not be appropriate for morning, midday, or afternoon drive when radio listening is at its highest, but it might work at night, overnight, or even on the weekend when listenership is lower. Another important scheduling rule is to protect against the same song playing at the same time every day. Rather, songs should play at different times on different days. This is especially important during morning and afternoon drive times. A listener driving to work in the morning shouldn't hear the same song as they're driving home after work. This gives the impression of a very limited music library. This chart shows an optimal rotation for one song during a 2-week period. The numbers in the chart represent the quarter of each hour in which the song is played. On the first Monday, this song would play in the fourth quarter of the 3 a.m. hour, next in the first quarter of the 7 a.m. hour, then in the second quarter of the 11 a.m. hour, next in the third quarter of the 3 p.m. hour, then in the fourth quarter of the 7 p.m. hour, and lastly in the first quarter of the 11 p.m. hour. From there, you can see how it airs at different times in different hours on different days with extra attention paid to morning and afternoon drive times highlighted in black. A well balanced playlist rotates songs with varying tempos, textures, moods, energies, genders, artists, and titles, all during different hours of the day throughout a broadcast week. And while we're on the subject of broadcast music, I wanted to remind you about payola once again. This is the illegal practice of a record company or artist paying a station to play music without the station disclosing the payment. In other words, the announcer or program director receives a bribe in some form of compensation in exchange for airplay and doesn't divulge the compensation. The amount of airplay can influence the perceived popularity of a song, which payola could be used to sway. Payola is a crime punishable by 1 year in prison and a fine of up to $10,000.